Twitch and YouTube for another episode. I'm digging it. I'm gonna make our own damn intro. Welcome, glorious people. Welcome to another episode of the Mad Suit Podcast. I'm Fat Boy Happy. We got Cyclops in the house. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope y'all had a great Thanksgiving. I know me and Cyclops, we were just talking, and I didn't really go anywhere or do anything. I did eat way too much food as what you're supposed to. And you were talking about you did the same thing. So hopefully the food that you ate was good, didn't make you sick or anything.
No food.
Yeah, I mean, I had some good food. It was pretty good. I'm not going to complain. And our Broncos beat the shit out of the fucking out of the Raiders, so that was a great win. I know we got the Browns this week, right?
Yep.
So with Jameis Winston playing at quarterback, he's a 50-50. Either he's going to throw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, or he's going to throw for 500 yards and 5 interceptions. So I don't know what we're going to get with that one. I'm declaring a win on that game. What do you think?
Yeah, I know the Browns still hold a grudge against Denver for the 3 AFC championship losses in the 80s.
And what is considered to be one of the greatest drives of all time that John Elway did on them. Well, they started at the 1 yard line and made it all the way to the end zone. That was insane.
Yeah, the Browns hate the Broncos so much. I saw a thing a few years ago where someone took their 7-year-old kid to a Browns game in a Broncos jersey, and the fans started throwing garbage at him. So the animosity is there.
How bad do you have to hate somebody that you're willing to throw trash at a child? That's well, you know what? To all you fans that decided to do that to that poor kid who just wanted to watch a game, you know who you are. Fuck you. Okay, we beat your ass. We're gonna do it again this week. Anyway, we're gonna jump into news around the world. So this first one, Mr. Cyclops, I thought was right down our alley. I saw it a couple days ago, so I kind of added it last second. So I'm gonna actually pull up the article so I can get my facts right. Because the last thing I need is somebody to like really get on my ass about what I'm talking about and whatnot. So there was a retired. Well, there's actually 2 stories in the one. So the first one is there was a mysterious blue orb type object that was recorded in like a United Kingdom airport, right? It was extremely small. I want to say it was like as big, maybe it was bigger than a basketball for sure. It was bigger than a basketball, probably about this. Man, it's hard to say how big it was, but it wasn't very big. It was hovering a couple inches above the ground, according to the picture. And I can't show it on here because I'm not like a nerd as far as computers and stuff. But there's this guy on TikTok that did like some fancy fucking video inspection with fucking programs and shit. And he could not find a source as far as it wasn't Photoshopped because he ran it through some computer system. It proved it wasn't Photoshopped. There was no string or anything attached to it. He could not explain it. And I just think it's funny that now, I don't know, maybe it's a coincidence. Okay. Big old coinkadink. But they had that UFO committee, and now all of a sudden there's like even more sightings going on. And I think it's weird that no one's making it a big deal. What do you think?
It is weird because you've got Congress talking about it now for several years, and everybody's kind of like blowing past the facts that they're admitting that we're seeing objects that they're not from here, and they've recovered bodies that are not from here and stuff like that. We've talked about conspiracies before that are crap, but we've got government officials on record saying stuff, and that's That's a little bit alarming that like nobody's paying attention to it. Everybody's just so focused on whether they hate Trump or they like Trump or whatever.
Yeah, and I think it's like I don't know. I think it's weird, and it's exciting, and it's weird, and it's scary at the same time that you got all these like fucking unidentified flying phenomenon, whatever you want to call it, and it's not even a big deal anymore. But Congress literally told us a couple weeks ago that there are government employees receiving workers' compensation because they got hurt recovering bodies that are not from this planet, you know? And it's been going on for fucking years, but it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? But it's such a big deal that Trump got, selected. But like it makes you wonder, how long have we been in contact with beings from not this planet, and what are the changes like that are gonna show up in the near future? It's just, I don't know, like you see all these sci-fi movies and you think like we're on the brink of actually living that in real life. So that's kind of weird. I think it's odd that it's not being taken as serious as I think it should be. But moving on. So this one, it made the news, and it could also be on what pissed me off this week. But so a couple weeks ago, Whoopi Goldberg, who I actually liked in the 80s and early 90s because she was fucking hilarious back then, right?
Jumping Jack Flash.
Right. Ghost was a good fucking movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, so apparently she decided that she wanted to go to a bakery and get like a cake or something made, I think for her birthday or something, for that shitty fucking show that she's on, The View. And the bakery told her that they can't do it. And she thought that it was because of her political views why she got turned down service at a bakery, when in fact the bakery couldn't do any orders because they had some equipment that was not working, so they couldn't do anything. So she made it a big deal. She put it on that show, The View, and like just criticized that fucking bakery for no fucking reason. And then when someone decided to go to the bakery and find out what happened, they said, hey, our warmer was down. We couldn't do anything. We turned her down and everybody else. So I think Whoopi should give that place a fucking apology. What do you think?
Yeah, there's a lot of celebrities that love to jump to conclusions, and they get on Twitter or what's the new one, Blue Sky? I think the Blue Sky.
Oh, that new Twitter for people who don't like Trump or something?
Yeah, they've divided into two factions. It's almost like wrestling.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I think it's stupid. At the end, it's like we said before, at the end of the day, we're gonna have to wake up and go to work anyway, so who gives a fuck, right? But
well,
anyway.
maybe at least they won't be arguing now. They can all like agree with each other on both sides.
Maybe they should, because if we see this every 4 years where everybody loses their shit, and then like a couple months later they're mad about something else, But anyway, so we're moving on to the next one. So I saw this article. I thought it was cool as shit, or interesting rather. So apparently the dogs at the Chernobyl site, where they had that big old disaster of, that nuclear power plant that has like a bunch of radiation and shit going on. So
way back
there, huh?
This happened way back in the 80s.
Yeah, that happened in, fuck, I ain't got the fucking year on here, like 80, like early 80s, 86, 80, April 26th of 86. So anyway, so the nuclear reactor in northern Ukraine, it exploded, whatever, right? So there have been all kinds of animals in that direct area that have thrived, even though their DNA has been changing, okay? So there are thousands of feral dogs. Many are descendants from the pets that were left behind from the families when that happened. Like they just said, fuck you, Fido, I'm leaving. Good luck to you, right? So scientists from the University of South Carolina and the National Humane Genome Research Institute have begun examining the DNA of over 300 feral dogs found in and around that site, and their DNA has gone through mutations, but not for the worse. Like they're not growing a fifth leg or anything. Their body is growing almost immune to the radiation. And the only big thing that they have noticed is the skin color on a lot of these animals are the only things that are changing. So like when I ask you to describe a German Shepherd, what colors are you thinking?
Kind of like what reddish brown,
Yeah, maybe brown, maybe a little bit of white, black, whatever.
black. Yeah.
So what they're finding is a lot of these dogs are not their natural colors. And like for example, like a German Shepherd would be normally like a blue or not blue, but like a black and brown, maybe a little bit of white, but they're all black. And they're not showing any signs of like sickness or anything to the radiation. They're like these animals are actually immune to it. So I just found that pretty interesting. And I don't know. I know the scientists are like doing research to see how humans can maybe grow also immune, but that would scare the fuck out of me because wouldn't that make us possibly into like swamp things? What was that fucking movie in the 80s, early 90s?
Toxic Avenger.
Bam. What if we turn into Toxic Avengers? That could be possibility. You can't tell me it's not a possibility. So I think they should just leave those fucking dogs alone and leave everyone else alone on that. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. So final story of the news around the world. This is one that I think you'll find interesting. Okay. This kind of goes with the UFO theme, because me and you are big on UFOs, and maybe one day I'll get abducted. That'll be great. So a retired United States Air Force captain recalls a UFO encounter and says that the aliens turned off 10 nuclear weapons in the United States. So this says a former U.S. Air Force officer, Robert Salas, recently stirred conversation during a congressional hearing when he suggested that extraterrestrials are trying to send a clear 3-word message regarding nuclear weapons. WTF. That's what he said. Salas, who served as a United States Air Force captain, shared his views in a discussion with Congresswoman Nancy Mace. It was recorded during a special hearing on UFOs and later shared on social media, blah, blah, blah. So he says these UFO sightings did not inflict any serious damage on weapon systems, but did disrupt their navigation systems. When asked what he believed the extraterrestrial visitors were trying to communicate, he interpreted it as a critique of nuclear armaments. He said, quote, "To me, that says they were sending us a message about nuclear weapons. What the fuck?" While he expressed regret for using strong language in front of the Congress, she seemed unbothered by his choice of words. And then apparently they turned off 10 nukes. He said he described a UFO as having an eerie red glow as it sped through the night sky on March 24th of 67. Now, this goes back to what we just said. Why are we not taking this seriously when we have a foreign, I don't know how you would say it, like a foreign power, I guess, because technically they would be foreign, right? So a foreign power who can easily turn off all our nuclear weapons whenever the fuck they want. Why is the government not taking this more serious? If this story is true, which I think it is. What do you think?
I think a lot of people in the government are stupid, for one.
Agreed.
I think they don't have common sense. They're always focused on stuff that's of the least importance when you have things like this that could be a potential problem. I will say that if you look at historically UFO sightings, like nuclear plants and anything around nuclear bombs or whatever, that's where they have the most sightings historically.
Right.
And so they're obviously interested, whatever it is interested in nuclear technology. And maybe they don't want us to use it. Maybe they see this stuff with Russia and the tension there, and they're like, maybe we want to intervene and we don't want this to happen because maybe it affects them in some way.
Yeah. Maybe they look at nuclear as a threat too. Because
Yeah,
I mean, if there's a foreign power that can turn off our nuclear weapons whenever they want, what's to stop them from just wiping us out of the planet? I mean, if they can turn off our nuclear weapons, they surely got weapons that are more stronger than ours. So I think the government's stupid for not taking this more seriously, you know.
yeah.
But maybe they're not, or you know what? Let me play devil's advocate. Maybe they are taking it seriously, but they can't show us how serious they're taking it to avoid mass hysteria.
Possibly.
So there's that too. You got to think both sides of the story, right? Well, that concludes our news of the world. So we're going to go on to what pissed us off this week. And this is a segment of the show that pretty much is the reason why I started this podcast. We just wanted to vent. And Mr. Cyclops, what is your beef with the show Cobra Kai?
Okay, so to give a backstory here, I love The Karate Kid, the first movie, fantastic movie, classic '80s. And Pat Morita was so good as Mr. Miyagi. Like he almost won an Academy Award for that role, and that role was just iconic, right?
Right.
And then the relationship, and then the unorthodox training methods he used with Daniel to get him, to win the championship.
Right.
And so Johnny's the bad guy in there because he's the head of Cobra Kai, and he's the one that loses in the final. So you go to fast forward, you had some cheesy sequels. But you fast forward to the beginning of Cobra Kai, they flip it. Now Johnny is the main character, and it kind of shows things from his perspective. And like, oh, this is cool. In the first couple seasons, because it's almost like Daniel's kind of like the bad guy, and it's everything's from Johnny's perspective, like how everything went down. So that's interesting. But the show became a mega hit. I don't think they expected it to. And we're in like season 6 now, and it's all nothing but high school drama between all these kids and their different relationships and friendships with each other. And then the last episode where they had Daniel's son locked in a dog kennel and in a cage. And I was like, you know what? How'd we go from this interesting story of Karate Kid to this crap?
I think I know we talked about this before, but I really do think that it comes down to money.
Yeah.
Have you noticed? Like I think the creativity of producers and writers and all that has gone downhill tremendously. Given point, they came out with that new Twister movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I watched it the other day, and I mean, it wasn't a bad movie, but it kind of pissed me off because it's like, leave the classics alone, right? And I noticed that they're piggybacking on all this shit, and they're running out of ideas. And I think that's what happened with Cobra Kai. From what you told me, I haven't watched it. I'm going based strictly off what you're telling me, but to have it to where now you got people locked up in dog cages and stuff, it almost sounds like they're running out of creative juice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's sad.
That's exactly what it is.
So, yeah. So I will say this to the writers. I'm not going to say the producers or anything like that. To the writers of Cobra Kai, that seems like you're just running out of creative juice. I think you need to do better. You need to do better. And until you do, go fuck yourself. Moving on to the next topic. Fan fiction. No, that's not. You know what? I mentioned it. Go with it. What's your beef with fan fiction?
So, if you think about history, like 400, 500 years ago, right?
Okay.
You think about what? I don't know. What? Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Isaac Newton, all these geniuses and all the works of art and all the science and all these masterpieces, right?
Right.
You know what we have for our generation?
What do we have?
Fan fiction. Because these works are the longest written pieces of literature in human history. And they're written about Nickelodeon cartoons and Nintendo video games. Like,
damn.
That's what we got, folks. That's what we're going to be remembered for.
Wow.
Like,
wow. And not only that, but when they find historical footage from this time of age, they're only going to see people twerking and eating Tide Pods.
Oh yeah, the Tide Pod challenge.
That's fucking embarrassing. Wow, you make a really good point, and you know what's coming. Fuck y'all for ruining our fucking generation. That's embarrassing. I never even thought of it like that, but that's fucking horrible. Let me tell you what pissed me off this week. Okay. So I'm watching the games, and you know, the Cowboys beat a 2-win team barely. Which I ain't gonna lie, I was expecting a closer game, but I'm not surprised they won because the Raiders are fucking trash. But what really like pissed me off is now you got these fucking Cowboy fans that think that, hey, we beat a 2-win team. We're making a playoff run now. These motherfuckers think that the Cowboys are making a playoff run
because they beat Drew Lock.
Because they beat Drew Lock. Oh, that's right. They didn't play the Raiders. They played the Giants.
That was the refs that played the Raiders.
Yes. Yeah, don't get me started on that fucking game. But yeah, they beat the Giants. And how many wins does the Giants have? Two?
I mean, you got them confused because they're both garbage teams.
They're both garbage teams. Yeah. And when Drew Lock was with the Broncos, I had high hopes for him. He showed glimpses of goodness. I won't say greatness, but goodness. He made some good passes. I ain't gonna lie. But now the Giants don't have a fucking run game. They sure as fuck don't have the defense. And they don't know what they're doing on their fucking quarterback situation. Now, they're probably going to end up getting the first pick. But that's besides the point. You Cowboy fans that think y'all are going to make a playoff run now because you beat the fucking Giants? Because you beat the Giants? Go fuck yourself. It ain't fucking happening, okay? Moving on. Green lights, high beam, and tailgaters. Sir, you got the floor.
I've been doing a lot of driving lately. And the green lights is like, so you're at a red light, 10 cars in front of you, light turns green, but nobody wants to move. They just sit there and sit there.
Annoying. That's fucking annoying.
And then by the time it comes up, by the time you finally get to that green light, guess what? It turns red again because nobody in front of you had any reaction. But if that light was red, they sure as hell would run it.
I'd do it. I'd run it. I'd run it.
And then the high beams and the tailgating is like high beams behind you. Like they got to turn on their high beams. I think somebody forgot to tell this new generation that you're supposed to use the normal headlights. Until the only time you use the high beam is if you're out in the country and there's no cars around.
Right. You don't want to hit a deer because Lord knows I know all about hitting animals with the car.
Right.
If y'all worked with me, you know I have hit a vast majority of the population in deer. Yeah. And I've hit a family of hogs with the same car. And my car's still running, by the way. But yeah. And that's fucking annoying.
And then the tailgating, like, just go around. Like, if I'm in the right lane, I'm just trying to do speed limit. I'm not rushing to get where I'm going to go. I'm not going to go any faster because you're 2 inches behind my bumper.
Yeah, fuck that. I'm an asshole, dude. I would have brake checked the fuck out of somebody. I would have brake checked and then overly dramatically fucking like whiplash. Oh, my neck, my back. You know, and then fucking get a new car out of it. Yeah, I agree with you. People like that are fucking retarded. So, to all you people that ride with your high beams when you're not supposed to, that tailgate and don't know what the fucking color green light does, I got something for you. Go fuck yourself. You are a piece of shit. Anyway, the final topic of what pissed us off this week. Cyclops, what is your beef with the show Mama's Family?
You know, What's crazy is I kind of like this show. It's kind of funny. It's an '80s
It is.
cheesy show. Um, but the thing is, there's this one episode where Naomi is, she's like a grocery store checkout clerk, and she decides she wants to become a flight attendant, stewardess, and she's all excited about it. But everybody in her family is kind of like ignoring her or kind of belittling her for it. And then it's just like, and I think we talked about this before, and I think there's a lot of TV shows. We couldn't think of any others off the top of our head, but I know there's some out there where somebody tries to better themselves and everybody clowns them.
Right. Yeah, it's just like there. I don't know if it was like last year or maybe or close to a year ago. There was some chick on TikTok that video recorded a obese individual at the gym on the treadmill, just doing. They're putting their steps in, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Hell, I need to put my steps
change
in.
Themselves, yeah.
They're trying to better themselves. There's nothing wrong with that. And this chick decided to this clown, this person, this stranger, all over TikTok, and it was very inconsiderate. And I don't think people should bash anybody that's trying to better themselves. That's low life, dude. I put people like that on the same level as fucking pedophiles, but I'm an asshole. So, so all you people that want to bash people for wanting to better themselves, you deserve it. You deserve it too. Go fuck yourself. But anyway, so that concludes what pissed us off this week. Tune in next week when we decide what pissed us off in the coming week ahead. But now we're going to go with our top 5. But before we go with our top 5, I got to do this just because, this is the app that I'm using to run this podcast called Riverside. So this is just
Powered
a real quick
by Riverside FM.
Damn, that sounded professional as fuck. But anyway, so our top 5 this week. I think we brought it up last week slightly, but we decided to go with it. So I think we're gonna go with the top 5 most underrated movies of all time. This can go from any year. This is all time. You can go newer, you can go older, it doesn't matter. Top 5 most underrated movies of all time. Starting with number 5 on my list, I got the movie SWAT with Samuel Jackson, the guy that plays Hawkeye in the Avengers. I don't know his fucking name. But I could watch that game. I could watch that movie like constantly, like all day, and it doesn't get old. I think it's just well written, not overly dramatic on the fucking action scenes, and it's a good storyline. I think it's one of the most underrated movies of all time. What do you think about that one, Cyclops?
It's a good pick. I like it.
I like it too. I think it's a pretty good one. So, what's your number 5 most underrated movie of all time?
Hot Tub Time Machine.
Hot Tub Time Machine. Dude, that's a funny fucking movie, dude.
Yeah,
I didn't think about that one.
About that movie, it's like there's not a lot of modern comedies that like. I guess hell, that movie's probably about 15 years old now.
It's pretty close to it, yeah.
So it's not even modern anymore. But
no,
I don't know. I don't remember a lot of people like raving over it when it came out. But it's a really, really funny movie.
I like it. I like it a lot. And like and when you watch that movie, you're thinking like, this doesn't make any fucking sense that a hot tub can time travel you back in time, but you don't really think about that because of the writing in that movie. It's just fucking hilarious. So I like that pick as number 5, Hot Tub Time Machine. My number 4 most underrated movie of all time is a movie called Spy Game. Brad Pitt, I forgot the other guy's name, but it pretty much, the whole storyline is Brad Pitt is recruited from Vietnam to be a spy. He gets trained from scratch, and the story in that movie is just like perfect. I can watch that movie over and over again, and I don't remember that movie blowing up that much, but it is an extremely, extremely well written movie. So Spy Games, my number 4 most underrated movie of all time. What is your number 4?
Daryl.
Holy shit. I haven't heard that one in a long time.
Yeah, like that one.
Wow.
Another off the wall 80s movie.
Yeah.
I always like those concepts when we talk about like, anything with time travel or like
Mhm.
I don't know, science fiction, advanced technology. This is more,
Right.
the kid's brain's a robot. And
Yeah.
it's like a government conspiracy or whatever, and they, that's always up our alley. So
Oh yeah, of course. That's a good pick. And it didn't blow up as much as you think it would have.
no, it's
So-
like it probably went like straight to video. Like it probably was in a theater 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah, like it went straight to VHS. Yeah, that's a good one.
Hell, beta back then. It went straight to beta.
Oh yeah, you're probably right. Yeah,
VHS.
VHS. That was later. Yeah, that's a good pick. So my number 3 most underrated movie of all time is 50 First Dates. It's a funny fucking movie, dude, and it's got comedy. It's well written. It's original, and it's just fucking hilarious, dude. But it didn't really it wasn't like breaking records and shit in the box office, But that's a movie that if it's there, it's available, you're more likely gonna watch it because it's fucking hilarious. So, 50 First Dates, my top 3.
Very watchable movie.
Very watchable. What's your number 3?
Stripes.
Oh fuck yeah, classic. That's a
Bill,
classic, bro.
Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, classic movie.
You can't go wrong with it. I mean, that is the epitome of 80s.
Yep.
Especially 80s humor. That's a good pick. So my number 2 most underrated movie of all time is going to be a movie called Immortals. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I haven't.
So Immortals is the action sequences in that movie is one of the best I've ever seen. And it's just fucking badass. It's kind of hard to explain, but it deals with gods and all that. And there's like a war going on. And it's just, bro, go watch Immortals. I don't know what platform it's on, but it is one of the best movies that's another movie I could watch over and over again, mainly because of the fight sequence. Because there'd be like a whole bunch of people fighting, and then like the whole movie slows down, except for the good guy. Like all the bad guys are like going in slow motion, and the fucking gods are like beating the fuck out of these bad guys. I mean, it's just insane insane imagery to watch. So Immortals, number 2 most underrated movie of all time on my list. Sir, what is your number 2?
Cobra.
Ooh, with Sylvester?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sylvester Stallone movie.
Now, everybody kind of clowned this movie when it came out, but there's just something about like the bad guy is really intimidating. Like him and his little gang, they just kill people for fun.
Right.
Like, they're scary. Like they're like, and then but like Stallone's like, he's just kind of shrugging. He's like, another day at the office. You're the disease. I'm the cure.
Right.
And that's
a really good fucking movie, dude. That's a really good movie. So my number 1 most underrated movie of all time on my list is going to be Demolition Man. The fucking storyline is badass. Wesley Snipes plays a really good bad guy. Sylvester Stallone plays really good guy. And it like the whole thing is like almost relatable. And for all you folks that tuned in last week, that is the answer to the 3 Seashells. What movie did that come from? Demolition Man. Okay. And it had what? Sandra Bullock, Sylvester,
Dennis Leary, Rob Schneider.
It had like just a bunch of fucking legendary actors and actresses. And that's just a badass movie, dude. It's just a really good movie. So Demolition Man, number 1 most underrated movie of all time on my list. And what is your number 1?
Demolition Man.
Boom! Ladies and gentlemen, we do not share our top fives with each other. We
Yeah.
just say, "Hey, we're doing a top five of this. Just make up a list." So
Yeah,
why is Demolition Man you're number one also?
It's because like it's the one movie that I don't know. Every day I can find something to reference that movie. Whether it's the Three Seashells or somebody talks about going to eat Taco Bell, I'm like, well, soon all restaurants are going to be Taco Bell.
5-star, baby.
Yeah, or just little things like just stuff that was in that movie, like the sex helmets. Like that stuff. Just I don't know. There's something. Whoever whoever made that movie, they had like a creative genius mind.
They did
come up with some of the things they came up with in that movie.
But then, like, if you think about it, though, with what's his name, Neon Musk or whatever the fuck, he's got these robots now that people can buy.
Yeah,
we're not too far from having the fucking sex helmets, which means we're not too far from the Three Seashells. So I'm just saying. I mean, that movie was more realistic than what people want to admit. So
and then look, everybody was fighting for toilet paper. A few years ago, there was no toilet paper, so that was kind of like the joke.
You see what I'm saying? So probably, maybe we're getting the Three Seashell technology from these UFOs that we've been hanging out with for so many years.
Right?
Maybe you never know. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our top five for this week. Tune in next week when we do another top five. Don't know what it is yet, but we will definitely be doing this every week. And now we're going to go to conspiracy theories. And this one's interesting because, like I said, now we're starting to get to the more likelihood of happening, could happen, did happen, whatever. So with the first conspiracy theory is Avril Lavigne died and has been replaced with a clone. This conspiracy theory happened or started picking up steam, like I guess, I don't know, early 2000s maybe. And a lot of people, they point out to a bunch of shit. There's marks on the face and all that. So this originated actually in 2011. The Canadian singer Avril Lavigne died in 2003, shortly after the release of her debut album Let Go in 2002, and was replaced by a body double named Melissa Vandella. Evidence used to support the theory include changes in Lavigne's appearance between 2003 and the present, supposed subliminal messaging in her follow-up album Under My Skin in 2004, and a photo shoot in which Lavigne has the name Melissa written on her hand. The theory is the subject of a BBC Sounds podcast, Who Replaced Avril Lavigne. So what do you think? Do you think that's possible?
I mean, I guess it is possible, especially if it happened right when she was getting famous. I mean, I guess it's plausible. I've heard the same thing about Joe Biden, that they've replaced him with a stunt double. I mean, how are you to really know?
I mean, you really don't. And I even saw the same thing about Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
If y'all don't know his story, he was on 24-hour suicide watch, which means there is always at least one guard or one correctional officer like sitting in front of your fucking door 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And somehow he managed to hang himself successfully. There's been talk about, he was replaced with a body double also. So, I mean, you hear about this a lot. So in 2014, when Avril Lavigne did an interview for the Brazilian TV show Panico na Band, I'm not saying that right. I'm part Spanish, but not that much. So she was asked if she had heard about the online rumors claiming she had died and was replaced by a clone, to which she replied, by saying that the first time she was hearing about it was in this interview, and she later added, "Well, I'm here, and I'm here in Brazil." Um, and like, she's been saying that she's not dead, she's here, and all that. But radio hosts Kyle and Jackie O said that Levine never actually flat out denied it, that she had been replaced. All she says is, "I'm here, I'm not dead." So that kind of grew into the the theory that she was replaced. Now, a separate death hoax alleged that Levine died in a snowboarding accident in the Whistler Blackcomb ski resort. But here's my question. Of all the people you're going to like do like a fake death on, for what I assume is to fucking like cash in on the popularity, why Avril Lavigne?
Well, isn't she the one that did that Skater Boy song?
Yeah, she was like a skater chick, but like she wasn't really blowing up like Britney Spears and
like
Christina Aguilera.
There doesn't seem to be a motive there to continue this. Like,
I don't think so. Like, I can see someone trying to keep the fucking money train on like Britney Spears or Michael Jackson, because they're gonna always fucking make money. You know what I mean? Like, even now, Elvis, who there's another one that people think faked its death. Even Elvis's estate is still making millions of dollars a year. So, but Avril Lavigne, that's not one I would try to fake a death on to make money. So I'm going to call that bullshit on that one. Would you agree?
Yeah, I just don't see the motive.
I don't either. I got to see a motive. I'm not saying it's not possible, but with her, I don't see the reason. So we're going to go ahead and continue on with this. Is Paul McCartney was replaced after being found dead and replaced with a double back in 1969.
Wasn't it allegedly a car wreck?
Like he
died in a car wreck.
Yes. So this, I guess you could say urban legend, conspiracy theory, whatever you want to call it, alleging that the English musician Paul McCartney of the Beatles died in 1966 and was secretly replaced by a lookalike. The rumor began circulating in 1966 of the same year, gaining popularity in September of 69, following reports on American college campuses. So according to the theory, McCartney died in a car crash, and to spare the public from grief, the surviving Beatles, aided by Britain's M15 or MI5, I think they're called MI5, right? So they replaced him with a McCartney lookalike, subsequently communicating the secret through subtitle details of their albums. There was clues among elements of Beatles songs and cover artwork. Clue hunting proved infectious, and by October of 1969 had become an international phenomenon. Rumors declined after Life published an interview with McCartney in November of 1969. The phenomenon was the subject of analysts in the fields of sociology, psychology, and communications during the 70s. McCartney parodied the hoax with the title and cover art of his 1993 live album titled Paul is Alive. The legend was among 10 of the world's most enduring conspiracy theories, according to Time in 2009. Now, pigging back to what I just said about Avril Lavigne, you can make the argument that there's the motive for that one, because the Beatles, dude, one of the greatest bands, if not the greatest band of all time, spanning all genre of music, and they're a money machine, right? Making tons of money. They're still, dude,
especially in the mid 60s.
Especially in the 60s. Especially like
they were the hit. They were the number one thing around.
They were the it band. And not that this is related, but the black sheep of the music family back then was the Rolling Stones. So, but anyway, that's besides the point. That would be a good reason to fake someone's death, because of the money flow that the Beatles bring. Would you agree on that?
Yeah.
And a lot of people are saying that, like they have pictures of ears that don't match up and like facial features and all this shit. So, in my opinion, is that possible? Fucking 100%. That is possible. But we're never going to actually know for sure. But keep in mind also in the 60s, it was so much easier to hide shit than it is now. So I think it's more likely that could be a true conspiracy theory because, I mean, again, back then it's just easy to hide shit, so I don't know. I think it's possible, but again, we'll never know. Another one that we added to this, I'll let you hit this one up on. Alex Jones is really Bill Hick, a legendary comedian from the 80s.
Yeah. Bill Hick.
So if you don't mind, Cyclops, hit this conspiracy theory up.
I mean, there's these photos out there where they try to show their teeth are the same and things like that, moles and like their ears and stuff like that.
Right.
And so Bill Hicks dies in early 1994 of pancreatic cancer, right?
Okay.
And he was supposedly 32 years old. And then all of a sudden, Alex Jones becomes this conspiracy radio host around in the mid 90s in Austin, which is kind of where Bill Hicks.
Right.
He was from.
That was
Bill
like
Hicks
his stomping grounds.
Yeah, Bill Hicks was from Houston, but he did perform a lot in the Austin area. So you go, all of a sudden, Alex Jones pops on the scene, and Bill Hicks is allegedly dead from pancreatic cancer, but nobody knew who Alex Jones was before he just popped up.
Right.
And so I think Alex Jones was allegedly born in the mid 70s. So that would put him at what, like late 40s right now.
Yeah.
But if you look at him, Alex Jones looks a lot older than like late 40s, I think.
He does.
And so that he fits into that age range that Bill Hicks would have been today if he was still alive, if it really is him.
Right.
So I see where people are going, but we talk about the Beatles having this motive, right?
Right. Money.
What would be the motive to turn some smart aleck comedian into a radio conspiracy guy?
There's no motive. And actually, if you really think about it, now, mind you, Hicks was a very underrated comedian. Extremely underrated. But if you think about it as far as motive, like Jones now is probably financially more successful than Hicks ever was anyway.
Well, he got sued, so he lost all his money.
Well, yeah, he got sued, but he just got his platform back. Someone bought it out of like bankruptcy and gave it back to him. So he's going to fucking make all his money back. He's got millions of followers, and I can understand why. His content is interesting. I'm not saying I agree with everything, but it is interesting to watch. But if you think about, if you just talk about finances, the motivation is not there because Jones made hell of a lot more money than Hicks ever did, and he's going to make more money now. And when you told me about this, I looked at the pictures, and I mean, they look fucking almost identical. They look very much alike. I can see it. But that goes back to a couple weeks ago when we talk about doppelgangers. There are people out there in the world that look just like me and you. Yeah. So it's possible that was just that. But I don't think Hicks faked his death or anything. I mean, the only other financial motive for that is if he had like a life insurance policy or something and somehow cashed out. I don't know. Maybe he was like a heavy gambler and was in debt or owed dangerous people money, because the mafia made Las Vegas. So, I mean, I don't know. I think that one is going to be going under the bullshit category. What do you think?
Yeah, I think McCartney's plausible because of the era that it was in.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it was so easy to hide shit back in the 60s and 70s and 80s.
My only thing would be, wouldn't his other bandmates have said something by this point? Like, I know, obviously, John Lennon died in 1980, and then George Harrison, 97, 98?
Right.
But
so now you got Ringo Starr, and that's it?
Yeah, you would figure Ringo or the quote-unquote fake Paul McCartney would have said something by now to spill the beans.
So let me ask you this. Let's say So let's say hypothetical, obviously, our podcast blows up, right? We're like top 3 podcast out now. We got a multi-million-dollar contract from some company. Shout out to all those companies, by the way. Anyway, and let's say we're making a lot of money. We're making heavy heat, like leadway, right? And I decided to fake my death because I had a mental breakdown. And I told you, hey, Cyclops, I'll give you $5 million a year for the rest of your life if you just keep your mouth shut. Would you be able to keep your mouth shut?
Yeah.
Money talks. Money talks. You know, if I knew somebody that wanted to fake their death and they're willing to give me a lot of money.
4 people had to know this at least.
But that's the thing, though. There's not 4 people now. All of a sudden, people are dead. Here goes the conspiracy theory. We're going down that rabbit hole. Who died? Who died on the Beatles? You got Morrison and
well, Harrison and Lennon.
Harrison and Lennon. Okay. When did they die?
1980, 1997, somewhere in there.
I mean, maybe they said something along the lines of, hey, I can't take it no more. I got to say something. All of a sudden, they're dead. Because if you think about those two were the ones that were the most on the screen, on TV, in interviews, more than any other member of the bands, right? Ringo Starr's never really on TV that often. He never really was.
He was on that Thomas the Train show, I think.
He was, but again, that's not
him and George Carlin.
Yeah, again, but that's not like heavy. Like John Lennon was making his own albums, and he was like making leeway as a solo artist his damn self. Morrison was doing his own thing. They were like the more popular members of the Beatles, and somehow they ended up dead. So maybe they just said, "Hey, I can't keep this secret no more. I gotta tell somebody something." Bam, they're dead. Ringo Starr, being a loner, ain't saying shit to nobody. That's why he's still alive, because he's still getting that $5 million a year. Just a conspiracy theory. I'm just saying. But
what was his one hit? It don't come easy.
Come on, it does come easy when you're getting $5 million to hide a secret. Give me that shit, Ringo. Anyway, that concludes conspiracy theories. Please comment down below on this episode with any ideas you want, any conspiracy theories you wanted to talk about, and we'll give you our most obnoxious fucking opinion on it. But now we're going to go to fan interaction because, you know, you have to, right? So our first interaction comes from John, and he writes, Selma Hayek should have been top 3. I mean, I agree. I mean, you can't argue.
I can disagree with that.
You said you can disagree with top 3. I can disagree with top 3. I can see a top 5, but top 3, no.
I'm not gonna argue it though. Not too much.
No, I mean, because she is. And have you seen her now?
What she look like now?
Oh my God, bro, she doesn't look like she aged at all, and she's like almost 60. I think on one of these, I think on Instagram, she still posts pictures of herself in bikinis at like 55, 56 years old. Like, come on, you can't go wrong with that. So, John, I see your argument, buddy, but we're gonna stick with our top 5. Chris writes, Broncos suck, go Raiders.
How'd that work out for you yesterday?
How did that work out for you, Chris? Huh? The Raiders sucked balls.
They're cursed. They're just cursed.
Don't say the Broncos, say the hardcore. Watching the show. Tiffany writes, plans for Thanksgiving. I didn't go anywhere. Had some food. Called it a day. I'm antisocial. I don't like going out. Cyclops, what did you do on Thanksgiving?
I ate with family twice.
Boom. We ate too much. We ate too much, like you're supposed to, and that is what it is. Maria 23 writes, New Year's resolutions. Cyclops, do you have any New Year's resolutions coming up?
Maybe not to get so angry over trivial stuff.
That's gonna be hard because we're a bunch of assholes. That's going to be hard. I can't even make that promise. I know I'm going to not be able to live up to that one. Is that all you got? Is that the only resolution you want to work on?
I mean, I'm already working out. Everything else seems to be good.
That's good. My resolution, I don't know, man. This is gonna be embarrassing, but I don't give a fuck. I've been paying for a gym and I haven't been going, so maybe I need to start going to the gym. That's my New Year's resolution. I want to try to go to the gym every day and do something. It may not be anything hardcore, but it'll be something.
Just get on the treadmill for 5 minutes.
That's it. I'm gonna start slow, work my way up. That's my New Year's resolution. Anyway, so that concludes our fan interaction. Like every episode, we like to end every episode with a quote or advice of the week. And this quote goes out to Chris, who said the Broncos suck. So, Chris, this one's for you. If I had $1 for every clever thing you said, I'd be poor as fuck. Fuck you, Chris. Thank you for watching the show. Tune in next week for another episode of the Mad Sue Podcast. I'm your host, Fat Boy Happy. We got Cyclops. Please leave a comment and all that on this episode. Give us your advice. There you go. Look at that. Oh, that's fucking cool. Where'd you get that from?
I got that at some antique store.
That actually looks fucking badass. I like that.
Like welded metal alien.
Yeah, I like that. Anyway, hey, y'all, tune in next week for another episode, and we are out. That's a good episode.
Yeah, I figured the aliens don't.
Boom. That was a good episode.
Yeah, you know what would be funny one week?